Yeah, yeah. What they say? I'm so divine, I'm so divine. Imperfection, perfection, my presence shines. My mental is parasailing maritime. They say I'm destined to read the palm line. Yeah, I'm so divine, I'm so divine. Imperfection, perfection, my presence shines. My mental is parasailing maritime. They say I'm destined to read the palm line. Yeah, I'm so divine.
Welcome to the H.G.R.G podcast, episode 51. DT, Just Jerry, we back. What's going on, man?
We're back in the bag.
Salute. As you see, we couldn't find a better option. We had to re-sign Lance to the veteran minimum.
That's it. Damn, I get the veteran minimum.
I even try to threaten these guys that it's either him or me.
I'm being honest. We almost had Teddy. But you know,
I ain't gonna let it happen.
It looked like the Minnesota Vikings came and picked him up, and he had the Jeffries jersey on, and he sold the game this weekend. But we back. Yeah, we back.
Absolutely. Listen, today we got a special one for you. You know, this is something that DT's been wanting to talk about now. He wanted to talk about it before, but he's going to get a chance to talk about it now. You know, it's going to be, the city tax foreclosure auction. And, I really want to see what he has to say. Just Jerry and I will grill him with questions and whatnot and how the process goes and things that he says. And then we're going to go there, go from there and let you guys hear all about it so that way you guys can learn the game that DT's putting down today. Yeah. So it's going to be a special one, DT. There's going to be a lot of you on this episode, and a lot of us.
Speak for yourself, because I know what I'm talking about. You good, bro? Speak for yourself, bro. I know what I'm talking about.
Hey, man, listen. Don't let that. That's why he's the veteran minimum, because he's not really like the top flight free agent. So he doesn't really know how to sell himself and say what he says, but. Lance, I get it, man. We ain't had no other choice. But, hey, man, you did an amazing job.
You know what? I'm a team player. You know what I'm saying? I know how to get the locker room going,
Right.
With my pom-poms.
Right.
Lance, Jerry, and I, we talked about this. We obviously are super seasoned when it comes to things like this. We invested in it. We've invested in it. We did invest in it. We are investing in it, and we have invested in it. We scored, we won, we lost. Nevertheless, city tax foreclosure auction. It just came by, just passed. We had I went there on behalf of H.G.R.G and other investors as well. We scored some deals. We watched some other stuff go by the wayside. It's just funny, how the whole thing works out. I wish that we would have been able to reach out to some of the people that were there. Now, let me paint a picture and then kind of work backwards. So city tax foreclosure auction throughout COVID, before COVID, but people get behind on their city taxes, right? 2-3 years go by, typically a year goes by. If you don't catch up on your city taxes, the city will foreclose on your property if you don't pay that up. So if you owe 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the tax amount is, and you don't pay that over the course of a year or two, they will foreclose on your auction, on your property. And in order to do that, it has to go to an auction, whether it's city, county, liens, whatever that looks like. So just now, we just went through literally like a couple of days ago that auction. So when we go, H.G.R.G, we are all telling people, hey, this is what it looks like. This is what this is what it is. Are you a part of it? Or do you, meaning are your properties about to be foreclosed on? So this episode is going to be kind of the beginning of what a foreclosure looks like, and how do you get into tax foreclosure? How do you involve yourself with it? How do you benefit from it? Right. So as an owner, if you own a property and you don't pay your city taxes, over the course of a year, 2 years. The city sends you a notice and tells you your property will be foreclosed on if you don't pay these taxes or make some type of tax payment agreement. So we have a portion of owners that say, oh my God, you know, COVID happened. I didn't receive the funds that I thought I was. And whatever I did receive, I used to pay my mortgage and my bills, and I forgot about my taxes. So now I'm behind X amount of dollars. Can you help me get out of my debt and avoid me from my properties being foreclosed on? How does that work? So the property management portion of what we do, you know, what I do, I have owners that now have tenants that now have properties that now owe 30, 40, 50,000 in taxes. And those have to be paid in a 2 or 3 week, a month time frame. Now they've been notified for maybe 6 months, a year that they owe this money, but it doesn't become important until they say, oh, on November, 12th, your property is going to be auctioned off. So now those owners reach out to me and say, hey, I'm in a bind. Help me, help me, help me, help me. In order to avoid them going into tax foreclosure auction, we have to now fix all the violations at not just that property, but all of the properties they own, get them into right standing in order for the city to make a payment agreement with them. And a payment agreement looks like if they owe $10,000 in taxes, after we fix all of the violations on their other properties, and now they are in right standing, in order for them to make a tax agreement payment, they got to put down 20% of the 10,000, 2,000, and then the city will make a payment arrangement for them to pay back the rest of the 10. That's just so they can get their properties off of that list for the city tax foreclosure auction. So over the last couple of weeks, my life has been consumed about, helping them get out of that situation. Some that were, very minimal, $300, $400, we're talking smoke alarms. Some properties just needed smoke alarms and carbon monoxides and an inspection, and then they avoided it. Others needed a roof, siding, painting, like thousands. And in 2 weeks' time, our company was not mandated, but because we're good human beings, we took it upon ourselves. Like I lost sleep, like no credit to
a moral thing to try to get it done.
Bro, I had nightmares. I'm not lying about properties. I swear to God, like lost sleep, like if it affected my personal life, of how to get these properties to the point where these owners don't lose these properties. Nevertheless, thank God, everybody was able to save their properties. Thank God, because it was a miracle. I ain't gonna lie to you, because some of them was like, but whatever. We get past that. We go to the auction. Today's for example's sake, today's the day of the auction. Last night, I was up till 4 a.m. because I had to save all the owners' properties. And I got to create a list for the people who are trying to buy properties at this auction and let them know, hey, this property is worth this. You got to spend this to fix it. So if you're going to bid on it, it's going to cost you X, Y, Z. I hope that we're able to, wrap all this in one episode, because it's a lot, right? It's a lot. So I want to make sure I separate it. So one part of it is helping owners save their properties from going on the list. Another part of it is selling owners or buyers of why they should be buying off the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but how do you find the auction properties?
So
if I'm not seasoned, I'm green, how do you find the properties?
Every city has a tax foreclosure auction. I don't know when it is
Correct.
and why it is, but every city hosts at some point a city tax foreclosure auction.
That's
When
correct.
that comes, you have to go to your city website and log in, tap in, tune in, and pay
It
attention.
usually Google trusted sales in your city.
Right.
Trustee sales in your city.
So if you live in, it doesn't matter, whatever city, what city of blank.gov, tax foreclosure auction.com.
They're usually trustee. That's what they usually use.
City treasury.
Sales. Yeah.
Sometimes it's treasury, trustee. It really depends on
Google it.
Or you could use the newspapers.
That, and if you want to get super simple, super basic, city of blank.gov, period. You go there, and then there's always a search bar at the top, and then you could just type in tax foreclosures or real estate department. Nevertheless, you're going to find the list, and you're going to find some information to get you there. So in our market, which is, Rochester, New York, tax foreclosure auction happened, this week. The list started at 2,300 properties. Right.
Wow.
When it, just because the list starts there, it's not going to finish there, because city tax auction means that these people owe city taxes. If they don't pay this by the time the auction comes, it will be auctioned. If they pay it, then it won't. So from 2,300 come down to the day of auction, it was narrowed down to about 550, which is big, because typically it's about 200, 250, which is double the normal. Nevertheless, I say this. At the auction this time, 550 properties. The auction starts at 8:00. I went on behalf of myself and multiple investors. So I'm going to buy houses for myself, as well as houses for H.G.R.G, houses for Tom, Harry, Paul, Sean, whatever, from all over the world. I'm representing about 10, 7, 15 investors. Let me tell you why I say that. Some of them are only invested in the auction because they own the lien on the property. What does that mean? The city tax foreclosure auction starts their bid at whatever that property owes the city. So if you own 101 First Street and that property starting bid is $10,000, $10,000 is what that property or the owner of that property owes the city. If I own an older tax lien from 2012 for that same property for $4,000, in order for me to break even, when that property goes to auction, that property has to sell for the $10,000 that's owed to the city, plus the $4,000 I own in a tax lien. So correct. Minimum sale price has to be $14,000.
Correct.
So I'm representing some people that own tax liens. So their tax liens are different dollar amounts. So they pay me to go to the auction to make sure that that property bids up to, at minimum, what they owe plus what the city owes. And if it don't, I'm supposed to bid. So for example, if Jerry owes this tax lien for $10,000, the starting bid is $10,000. That property has to sell for a minimum $20,000. So when they start the tax sale, it's going to start at whatever the city's into it for, which is $10,000. So it starts at $10,000.
If somebody only goes to 12, you have to bid 13.
I got to buy the house.
Correct.
Right. So if it stops at 12 and I go to 12.5 or 13, I'm there on behalf of Jerry to buy the house at 13. So that I can guarantee to Jerry that, okay, Jerry said, I'm going to pay them, the city, their 10. Jerry's going to get the 3 back. So now he's only at a $7,000 loss, but he owns the property for 7 bands.
Correct.
plus whatever it takes to fix it and clean the title and all that other stuff. Right?
So what happens? What happens if, I know the answer, but what happens if you buy the property at the foreclosure, at the foreclosure date?
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, two-part question.
Of course, it wouldn't be Jerry if it wasn't two-part.
When would you get a deed?
So the city tells you that it takes 60 days to get a deed.
Correct.
But it could be 90, but they say 60.
Got it. So now you got 60 to 90 days. You bought the property on June
1st.
June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I paid it May 29th. What happens? I paid the taxes May 29th.
The property's taken off the tax auction.
But you bought it on June 1st because it didn't hit.
You won't be able to buy it on June 1st because the homeowner of the property, like if your property is on this list, if your property is on this list today, right? And today I go to auction. So the auction's at 8:00 in the morning. If you go to the tax to the city office and you pay off that debt at 8:00 and your property goes on the auction block at 8:04, they'll send them a notice and right in the middle of the auction, like if I'm like 20 and somebody else is like 21, they'll be like, oh, stop, I'm sorry. They just paid off the property's taken off the list in the middle of the auction.
In my experience, I seen somebody pay for it,
mm-hmm.
and they mailed back all their money back.
It's possible. It's possible because there's, you could pay it off in the middle of the auction. You could have paid it off the day before, and there was a clerical order, a clerical mistake. There's variables with that. It's not like, nevertheless, like typically, if you are bidding on a property, it's available, right? But there are circumstances, situations where somebody could pay it off right while you're bidding or the day before, and maybe a clerical, issue has happened. But so what happens is, so the auction was on November 10th, right? So if you win that bid, if we bid on 101 First Street and we win that bid for $20,000, our obligation is right there when you win the bid, you got to put down $5,000. So when you go, it's amazing, bro. And I want to tap into this because this is our people. I went to the auction with, 40,000.
Wait. Before you get into that, hold that. Because I want to stick on one subject. So I want to get to, you said if someone already had a deed for 4,000 and they owe the city 10,000, you got to make sure it's sold for at least 14,000, right? That's what was said, to be clear.
Sir.
But if someone owns the deed already for 4,000, mm-hmm. how could that property accumulate another 10,000?
You don't own the deed for 4,000. You own a lien.
A lien. Okay. So how does that happen?
Yeah, but you won't. Some people don't know the lien is there.
Right.
So if I have a lien on the property, I took a HELOC off the property.
Yep.
You don't know I took a HELOC off it.
Yep.
So, but the city's taxes is 10,000.
Please pay attention. This is very pertinent information. This is hidden. Nobody tells you this. Pay attention.
So I have a lien. I have a lien on the house for 4,000 because I took a HELOC. But the city tax, I owe 10,000. So the city wants their 10,000. I don't care what you do with after that.
Right.
But Dan is doing is he's standing for his owner. Because I have to sell it more than 14, so his lien is off.
Because the city has first dibs.
Right.
Yeah, city's taking that for 10,000.
So all right. So my confusion came in is I thought you said D for some reason.
No, lien.
A lien. Okay.
Yep.
So with the lien, I understand completely. Yep. Because you got to remember, when you have a lien on your property, there's an order to it.
And keep in mind, there's many different forms of liens. Liens come in the forms of taxes. Liens come in the forms of contracting, construction. Liens come in the form of,
Personal
leverage,
loans,
personal.
Loans. Yeah,
There's a
all kinds
lot of different variables of liens, right? So in order for you to sell a property, if I borrow money from Lance and I borrow money from Jerry against this property, right? Even if it's $500, and I tell Lance and Jerry, I'm going to borrow this from you, but my guarantee to you is that if I don't pay you back, you have a lien on this property, right? Even if it's only $500 and I never paid them back, nobody can sell that property without taking care of Lance and Jerry's lien if they file their lien correctly.
Correct.
Right. So let's be very clear on that.
Right.
Okay. So that's a great point. Jerry's a great example. Lance, great question. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm gonna be honest, it was terrible. But so the only time, and I don't know, this is one thing that I'm gonna say that I don't know. I don't know this because I learned this at this tax foreclosure auction, and I'm okay with saying I didn't know this. So I represented a band of people that bought tax liens, right? And some of their properties were claimed by what's called a land bank. This is why I told you guys this is going to be crazy. So at this tax foreclosure auction, the city released a list. The list consists of all the properties. There was 500 and some at the final list. The first 145, 180, I don't know what it was, 150 properties, let's just say, were part of the land banks. And then the remaining 400 properties were general auction. I don't know what the definition of land bank is, and they don't offer that. But when you go to the auction, what that means is that whatever's on the land bank list, the city has the rights to upfront. That's what it is. So when you go to the auction, they read you for 30 minutes the rules, the regulations, how to handle it, blah, blah, blah. When they're done with that, they start with the land bank auction. There's 150 properties there. They read them off. There's a representative from the city that says, all they do is they take a pink card and they raise it. If they want it, if they don't. So they read off the list of the whole 150. Whatever property they raise their hand
to. So you're saying I'm sitting there, and for 150 properties, I can't say a word.
Not a word. Bro, so the auction started at 8 o'clock in the morning. I got there at 7:30 because the city told me to get there at 7:30 because I represented so many people. They said I was going to be difficult. So because you're going to be difficult, be there early so you can get, your stuff situated. I got there at 7:30. They opened the doors at 8:15. So I stood outside for 45 minutes. One of the greatest 45 minutes ever, though, because I met an amazing human being.
What was her name?
His name was
I'm just messing.
His name was Tony Salino. Tony Salino was like one of the dopest people I ever met in my life. Humblest, greatest dudes ever. I'm gonna explain why later, maybe a different episode. Nevertheless, we go inside, whatever. I was there from 7:30 in the morning until 7 at night. No breaks, no water, no food, no coffee, no snacks, no breaks, no timeouts, no nothing.
Wore a diaper. Just got to it.
They got a bathroom.
All right, you went to the bathroom. Okay.
They got a bathroom.
And the reason why you set it at 7 o'clock is because you don't know when they're gonna put
no,
up.
You know
owners.
You know when they're gonna offer each property because it's on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, but you don't know how fast. You don't know how fast they're gonna get through it, and you got so many, bro. I went there with a list of 50-something properties. I can't miss one because now people are paying me to be there so that I don't miss it.
Correct. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I can't afford to even to go to the bathroom was like, bro, I'll be right back. Like FaceTime.
I gotta go.
Yeah, if that comes up, take my card and raise it up. Like it was like that. Like it was crazy. But nevertheless, it was dope. So going back to my point is that people, owners and auctioneers, if you will, had to stand through the land bank. Mind you, they paid for some of my owners paid for extensive research on multiple properties. And I also put in work for myself for multiple properties.
Great that you went that way.
But and you didn't know what was land bank and what wasn't.
No, you know what is land bank, but you don't know what land bank is going to take responsibility for.
Okay, gotcha. You don't know what they're taking.
So that's great that you said that. First off, another two-part question. First off, the property is seen or unseen?
So the properties are seen from the outside only.
Right.
So inside is unseen.
Unseen.
Okay. Second, how do you do so much research if you can't see them?
You literally got to be acclimated with the neighborhood.
Yeah, Lance, I'm telling you right now, we don't need you anymore.
I'm gonna be honest, right Jerry. We might just be. Yeah. Hey, listen, bro.
So all I'm saying, B.
Yeah, listen, DT, I got a 7-part question for you.
We just paid him minimum veteran, and we could have cut that out the budget.
I got a 7-part question.
I'm sorry, I'm talking so freely, but Lance, you are.
Listen, do your thing, man. Do your thing. I'm proud to see this moment. You know, I'm proud
you proud. I know.
Hey, okay. Listen, Big Willie, what's your 7-part question?
No, I ain't got question.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, Jerry? You see what I'm saying?
About 7 questions throughout this, maybe.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you know it's crazy. I laugh because you just stuttered, right? So I was talking to one of our students, Xavier, today, just talking to him like 30 minutes ago. And I said, yo, you know, we still need you on H.G.R.G, the podcast, right? He was like, I'm going to stutter that bitch the whole way through. And I said, listen, man, you're not the only one in this world that stutters.
That's a fact.
Don't worry about it. We're going to figure it out. But, you know, we laughed it off. But I'll tell you guys about that off camera. Nevertheless, so good, you know, great question, Jerry. Yes, you can only see the properties from outside. How do you get an actual property analysis is obviously by having boots on ground. People are familiar with neighborhoods, properties, conditions, prices, things of that nature. That's what they pay me.
Breaking into the property.
Yeah, well, that too. But that's what they pay me for. Right. That's what they pay me for. So, you know, with that being said, you know, I'm there on their behalf. Land bank was like piercing. I got 60 properties, you know, whatever the number was on paper. When they were done with the land bank, and then also with the properties that paid their taxes and were taken off the list, I was down to 20 something.
Cut you right in half.
So let me ask you another question.
And I did 5 days. My bad, G. I did 5 days. I'm going to say I did like 80 hours. Let me just say that. 80 hours of driving by properties, research, analysis, like 80 hours.
H.G.R.G, thanks you. We appreciate you.
I'm going to send you a bill.
No, don't send it to yourself. Huh? It's all right. The question I would say would be land bank. Are they able to take the properties that you were looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So land bank could take,
bro, at cost though. So this is
not
the
craziness
about land bank. So land bank is a form of the city. They're a part. They're a section, whatever you call it, of the city of Rochester. They are able to, and I think that the way this works is basically they formulate a list of the properties that they have vested interest in, right? So if these properties are going to go to foreclosure, we want them. We're interested in them.
So they could knock it down, build something else, or do something, whatever it is.
Whether it's build something else, you know,
it's a good property.
They're gonna
they think it's prime real estate.
First-time homeowners. They're gonna sell them to police officers, fire department, public servants. I'm with all that. Make it fair though. They don't make it fair. They pick who they want, what they want off the list, and there's no challenging it. But the problem is, if that property let's say I own for my investors, right? Some of my investors bought tax liens, not deeds, Lance. Listen to me. Tax liens on this property for 10,000, right? And the land bank says, I want that property. The land bank only pays the minimum bid, which is the city taxes. And hold up, not just the city taxes. It's the city taxes, their fees, and their fees. They charge double fees. Right? So if you owe 8,000 in taxes to the city charges a fee plus a fee.
Isn't it beautiful?
And that's the fee. That's the number that the land bank pays.
So let's say
so what happens? Is it expunge the lien?
No, you still own the lien.
Right. So that means a new owner, right, will have to pay that lien. I mean, so who's paying that lien?
So this is another thing I don't know. And I'm sorry to say it, but I'm keeping it 1,000.
Right. I'm asking questions that you don't know. You see what I'm saying? That's why you need me. It's fine, no problem, guys. Go ahead. You can go.
I thank you for asking questions I don't know.
We don't need Lance to ask questions that we don't know. So
if Lance wasn't here, I would have told you, Jerry, I don't know how this works out. But the problem, that's why I brought up this whole conversation. But Lance, I appreciate the question because you just reiterated what I just said. But hey, man, God bless you, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
If the land bank takes the property at the city costs, whatever the number is, right?
Yeah.
And I own a lien for whatever the number is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that carries over to the new.
Has to, man. Someone's got to pay that lien.
The reason why I say that is because I'm thinking. Hold up 1 second, G. Because these properties, they take the city when the land bank takes ownership. What they do with these properties is they offer them to nonprofit organizations.
Right.
They offer them to HUD. They offer them to, like I said, different programs to now invest ungodly amounts of money into them, or just to knock them down because they're going to develop it for whatever reason, right? But at the end of the day, they eventually have to sell them.
Right.
So those liens have to be settled before they
exist. Right.
I'm thinking if that lien holder gets the total amount, because listen, let me explain this to you. Different perspective. If I bought a lien, the only reason why I buy a lien is because I'm going to get my money plus interest, or I'm going to land the property.
Right.
So if I buy a lien for 10,000, I'm not just looking for 10,000. I'm looking for my 10,000 plus interest, or I want to land the property. So if the problem with that, this is the problem why I say I don't know. And anybody who knows, like, you know, the saying, if you know, you know. Right. Anybody who knows, if you know, you know. If I buy a lien for 10,000, all that's on paper, all that's documented is 10,000.
Right.
So if Lance buys a property for whatever the number is, and I own a lien on that property for 10,000, when Lance goes to sell that property, you can't sell that property until I get my 10,000.
That's correct.
My question is, and what I don't know, what I have to still understand is that I didn't buy that property for just 10,000 though. I paid 10,000, but my expected return was 10 plus interest. So when you sell that property, am I obligated to my 10 plus interest, or are you obligated to only pay me my 10? You understand me?
You just break even at the end of the day, even if you just get your money back.
Yeah, because if I break even, I should have never did it. That doesn't make sense to me.
Right. And if they're not going to pay you, then you're out 10,000. It doesn't make any sense.
You know what's the sad part? You know what's the sad part? One more time. I'm sorry, G. One more time.
The sad part, because you talking when you're trying to.
I am. The sad part about this is that all of the investors, from the person who runs it to the people who invested, they don't know the answer. And they are the people that told me what they did.
I need the mayor of Rochester to reach out, or we'll reach out to you. Let's get you on the show.
Malik, baby. Malik, holla. Malik.
I believe when the landmark is called landmark
Land bank.
Land bank.
land bank. Once they pay the lien, they give you the bill. If I pay the lien for it because I need to clear it up, but the bill goes back to you. You're the last owner. I believe so.
Well,
No.
that shit's being foreclosed anyway. So I mean,
What do you mean the bill? What do you mean the bill?
So that property, I paid $10,000 for the city, but it has a lien for $4,000. I think Land Bank pays the $4,000, but still charges you $4,000 to the last owner.
You're not the owner.
You're the last owner.
He's saying the person that let it foreclose or whatnot.
Hold up, bro.
Yeah.
We gonna edit that.
Why?
Because you're not the owner.
No. He's saying the last.
Jerry is the last owner.
I'll pay.
I bought a HELOC for $4,000.
Yeah.
I owe the city $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
The city was Land Bank bought it for $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
But I still own a $4,000 lien. I think Land Bank pays the $4,000, but then sends you a bill.
No.
That's what I was asking.
No. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna edit that. It don't work like that. It's like that would be like it's the same thing if you have a credit card for $2,000 and you never pay the credit card, right? You know who buys that debt?
Correct.
Yeah, third party.
A third party agency buys that debt. If nobody ever pays that debt, nobody ever gets paid.
Right. So the third party pays it, hoping to put some interest on it and get that money.
Their interest is to get interest on their debt, because if you owe $4,000, the people who buy that debt, they only pay $2,000 or $1,000 for that debt. They ain't buy that debt for what it's worth.
Right.
The bill collector, correct.
You know what I'm saying? So their interest is obviously I want to get the whole $3,000, but I only bought it for $1,000.
Right, and they'll settle for you for $1,600, $1,700, make that money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but my thing is, this is a little different, this game, because so basically, all in all, we need the mayor here so that way we can go ahead and get the answers to that. You know, say who pays back that lien. You know, once the land bank buys that property.
No, it's crazy. I think if you ask the mayor, he'd be like,
Contact. Listen, if we get the mayor of Rochester on the show, no shots.
Yeah.
No shots.
No. I would love to have the mayor on the show, because we could talk about what we trying to do for the city. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. For sure.
We're not attacking him, but it would be dope. But it's crazy because when I'm sure you guys have all done business or some way, some fashion with the city or any entity in your neighborhood, government. There's a lot of unforeseen unknowns. There's no not to say no, but there's a lot of things that I don't know. And when I call, they tell me call them. And when you say I called them said call you. They in the same building, cubicles right next door to each other. They have no clue what they're doing. That's how it happens.
He will not be going to the mayor's office anytime soon.
But that wouldn't surprise me either. But I'm just saying.
So yeah, and you just, Jerry, you remember when we were with the mayor's people driving around Petersburg, Virginia, and looking at properties, and
properties.
They were trying to sell me, off real minimal the price. It was really low, but we knew that we were going to be left on stuck eventually.
Yeah.
Because of the population, all the work that had to be done, just the area itself as well. And it is just really, really, really run down. And we knew not to make that move, even though we wanted to, because the price was so enticing.
Yeah.
What they were trying to do was rebuild that.
Right. And they're like, oh, you're investors, since you're an investor, help us rebuild this, or let's do this and let's do that. And we just looked at it. We had to pass on it, but something that we played around, we juggled with a lot, but we just knew we were going to get left on stuck. You know, the population isn't big enough.
And
You know,
the population is not big, and it's not attractive to the next person. So,
right. So not a lot of people moving in there yearly. So
the numbers didn't add up. That's just like we do. If the numbers don't add up, we don't move.
Yeah.
The numbers didn't add up.
So
So back to the auction.
Sorry.
No, you good. Back to the auction though.
Thanks for contributing.
You said you bought 40,000.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Is that the amount you looking for, that you should be bringing in? What is the amount you should be bringing in? What is the amount?
Man, listen. So the rules of the auction are, if you're gonna bid on a house, you know, you got to bring 5,000 per house you plan on landing. But in order for you to walk in, all you have to do is show 5,000 cash or check, or whether it's bank check or attorney check, right? When I tell you there was probably damn near $1 million in cash in that building, there was damn near $1 million in cash in that building.
So you're saying stick up the next one?
Nah. What I'm saying,
set it off. Part two.
This is a big. This is a big part of why I think it was important for us to talk about it, and also why I think we should maybe multiply this into multiple versions, because I really want to get into the game of how to do the auctions and how to get out of, you know, the whole science.
All right, so we'll do that second. Don't worry, I'll take care of that. But go ahead.
But I also want to talk about, you know, people who just don't know and then looking for a way, right? So if there was 400 people in that building, maybe, and I'm being fair, like, you know, if there was 400 people in that building, maybe 150 of them knew, like, experience, like what this is, what this is, like, you know, what it's hitting for, how to do it, you know.
So less than half the people knew what was really, really going on.
Bro, there's 250, easy 250, looking for a way. You know what I mean? Like,
trying to strike gold.
They saved up whatever they got, you know, whether it was 10, 15, 20, 30. Because when I tell you I paid for a house. I got a house, right? So every time, so how the auction works is when you hey, yeah, sold to, what's your number? And whatever your number on your card, my number was 131. Sold to 131. So they make you walk, as soon as you sold, you got to walk back to the desk. You got to give up your LLC information, blah, blah, blah. You fill out the whatever. It takes about 10 minutes. Then you got to go to the front. When you go to the front, you got to give 5,000. Every house you win, you got to pay 5,000 for it. It's a deposit. So you go to the front. So I'm paying just for one, because I won several houses that day. So when I go to the front for one certain house, I pay the 5,000. The lady who walked me to the front, she works for the city. So while I'm walking to the front and I get to the desk, she's like, "Oh, you just got to wait for this person to finish." So I'm you know, no problem, whatever. Bro, the lady paid her $5,000 deposit in ones. I swear to God on my kids, I ain't lying. Pulled out ones, stacks of ones. The city,
you know what type of business is
the city, the lady who worked for the city, she was sweet, she was cool, but I'm not joking. You're not joking. That's real.
Yeah, I'm joking, man. We don't know. I'm not putting no title on nobody, man. I'm just joking.
But scrap. No, this is why we do. Like, the lady who walked me up to the front, off the rip, she's super judgmental, you know, whatever. And I'm not mad at her because she was being cool about it. She wasn't like, you know, she's not like racist or nothing like that. I'm not trying to play that card, but at the end of the day, she was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" She's talking crazy shit. Mind you, bro, you getting paid to be here. So it don't matter what none of us is doing. It don't matter how nobody here is paying for nothing. This is how I view it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I respect you because I understand you here, you know, you're getting paid, you know, whatever that looks like. But when you come to the table, you're not buying none of these houses. You know, like, I don't even know what she paid for the house she bought. It don't matter. it's real. Like you gotta have cash. You can't go to an auction with liens and loans, and you gotta have cash.
Right. So you're saying
you can't.
It's only one type of payment.
Yeah, cashier's check, regular check, right?
You gotta have a bank check, an attorney check, or cash. That's it.
That's it. That's three things.
Yeah.
No credit cards.
No credit cards.
No proof of
none of that.
None of that.
Proof of funds.
Proof of income, proof of funds. No pre-approvals, no bank funds. Hey, the bank pre-approved me for $200,000 so I could buy whatever. No, it ain't that.
Okay.
Cash,
just asking.
Bank check, or attorney check. That's why I told you I went to that auction with 40,000 in checks at 5,000 a piece.
Correct. You know why you did that?
Of course I do.
Can you tell us?
Yeah, because each person I represented, as well as myself, I had to understand that. Let's just say I win every bid for every person I'm here for. I gotta have $5,000 per, auction I win. So, I went there prepared to win half of what I was supposed to bid on in bank checks. And I had, options that if I needed more, people to do that. But, so I went with enough. I spent a quarter of that though, because I didn't buy, everything. But never. Go ahead.
So let me ask you this, because we're investors, right?
Yeah.
Anyone ever go to these auctions looking for a home for them to live in?
Yeah.
Maybe a bigger home where somebody fumbled the bag and they're looking for a nice property that they want to live in, and go ahead and snag that up by grabbing that deed.
Yeah. And I would say it falls on the line of a good option. And it also falls on the line of just being dumb. It kind of like, so if you go to an auction, right? Typically, you're not gonna get a steal deal.
Right. You're not gonna find a $500,000 house
for 100,000.
Right.
You're not gonna do that, right? So mind you, Meek Mill said there's levels to this shit, and it really is. Right. So if you go to an auction, you're not going to find whatever the property is worth. You're not going to buy it for a quarter, 50% of the value of the property. You're going to typically spend 75 to 95%, maybe even 130% of the value of the property, depending on the auction.
Even if they just owe taxes. I mean, I guess it's built up taxes.
Yeah, bro. There was a property that the opening bid, so what they owed taxes for, was $32,000. The sale price was $264,000.
Right.
They could have bought that property for $230,000 on the MLS.
Facts.
Mind you, when you go to a tax auction, you can't go inside the house. On the MLS, you can get property inspections, walk through it, negotiate.
A lot more protection.
You dig what I'm saying? So that's why the auction it's a good tool, but it's not bulletproof.
But it's a better tool for investors though. More than anything. Not saying you can't use it and utilize it for
this is why I know we need a better Lance.
Because it's yes and no, bro.
Why would you even say something like that? It's an amazing tool for an investor, but it's not an amazing tool for an investor if you don't have an H.G.R.G.
Yeah,
if you have H.G.R.G,
if you don't have the boots on the ground, man,
you gotta have H.G.R.G in order for that to be a great and amazing tool for you. If you don't have H.G.R.G, then it could be that you could spend 230, 260 something for something that you could have bought on MLS for 10% less, 15% less, and you know what you're buying.
So I got a question. You buy a property. Great numbers, great come out. Numbers come out. You got great. Can somebody be living there?
Yeah. Let me. You guys know we bought it. H.G.R.G. H.G.R.G. bought 3 properties, right?
I know.
H.G.R.G. bought 3 properties. H.G.R.G. bought a property in an area that's like a 5-6 area, right? Mind you, you know why H.G.R.G. bought it? Is because H.G.R.G's tapped in, they tuned in, know the areas, they know what it's hitting for, good prices, bad prices. Even though the auction sometimes went high, it went low, it went in the middle. You know, we play the game. Like, we really play that game. So we bought a property in 5-6 area. It should have went at the auction for 60-something thousand, 60, 70,000. H.G.R.G. grabbed it for 30. Right? H.G.R.G. got a property for 30,000 that they got to put 15, 20,000 into. So they're all in for 50. The ARV is 120. The rent amount is 1,400.
That's a win-win.
H.G.R.G. bought another property for 50.
Numbers add up.
H.G.R.G. bought another property for 50. They got to put 10 into. Rent is 1,200. ARV is 95, maybe 100. They bought it for 50. Okay, H.G.R.G. bought another property for 51. 25,000.
51. Let me ask you a question. Was the starting price 50,000?
Starting price was 10.
Oh, everybody was going hard. The reason why I asked that is because when you're the only
at an auction, you're never going to be the only. Never. I just told you there's 400 plus people.
Go ahead, finish.
So, like I said, if you're the only one who's bidding, I didn't say this one. I said if you're the only one in bidding, it's usually $1 over the bidding. If you're the only bidder.
It depends on the auction, because if the auctioneer, you know, in certain, which you're right, 1,000%, you're right, Jerry. But in certain auctions, you don't dictate what you bid. The auctioneer tells you, you know, what you can raise your card to, right? And in this auction specifically, it was 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. Or 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. It was in $500 increments. It wasn't like dollar increments.
Yeah.
It wasn't hundreds.
22. Do I hit 23? Do I hit 23, 24, 24?
Right.
Do I hit 24?
You know what I'm saying? And then once they be like, oh, 25. Nobody 25. All right, 24.5. All right, 24.5, 25, 25.5. You know what I'm saying? It went by $500 increments was the lowest number. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like 24.01 or 24.02. But there are auctions that do that. This auction just wasn't that.
Got it. Understood.
H.G.R.G. got so we grabbed 3.
So the 51,000 you're at. Go ahead.
Yeah, we grabbed the 51, we grabbed the 30. We grabbed the dopest deal we did. We got one for 27. It needs like 25 bands. ARV 110.
That's 60,000 on that.
More than double.
60,000.
Double what you put into it.
Dopest deal. And, you know, after the sale, we went, talked to the neighbor. Neighbor like, oh, I know the people. We're ready to get in there. It's a shoe-in. A shoe-in. Hey, this was wrong with the prop. Shoe-in. Because there's laws, there's rules. You can't, that's why this shit is deep. You can't just, when you buy the property at the auction, you can't just go there and start like fixing stuff and taking stuff. You got to wait.
You got to go. Yeah. Definitely wait.
By law, you can secure the property if it's vacant. If it's not vacant, you can't tamper with the tenants.
How do you secure this property?
You know, board it up, change the locks, screw the door shut.
I'm just speaking for the
real shit. So, you know, all that.
Can you change the lock?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you change the lock if somebody's living there?
No.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. You have 0 legal rights to the property if somebody lives there.
Until when?
Until 60, according to the city, 60 days minimum, possibly 90, when you get the actual deed.
So you have to have deed in hand
Yeah.
before you try to make any move when the property is not vacant.
How long we been on?
Yeah, over an
we
hour.
gotta shut it down. We gotta shut it down.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what I'll do. I got
Yeah,
you.
there's a whole nother like.
Listen, guys, we have a lot to unpack and unfold. This is episode 51. Make sure you stay tuned. We're gonna come back for part 2 in episode 52. All right, guys, we'll be right back.
Yeah. What they say? I'm so divine, I'm so divine. Imperfection, perfection, my presence shines. My mental's parasailing maritime. They say I'm destined to read the palm line. Yeah, I'm so divine, I'm so divine. Imperfection, perfection, my presence shines. My mental's parasailing maritime. They say I'm destined to read the palm